Another day, and that means another 2K17 video. So welcome back to the channel and to another brand new video. As you guys probably know by now, yesterday we had our very first official gameplay. Now I did show that on my channel yesterday and shared a thought or two on it, but today we're going to slow things down and break it all down and look at things a little more in depth and hopefully spot a thing or two that you might not have noticed when originally watching yesterday's gameplay. So let's waste no more time and get this one underway. Now pretty much as soon as the first piece of gameplay starts, there is already some things to point out. In the top left hand corner we've got the match star rating like we currently have in the My Career mode, which now looks set to be featured in all modes across the game. This is because, as stated by IGN themselves, they currently don't have Universe mode or My Career playable, so in theory this should confirm that this gameplay was in fact recorded in an exhibition match. Now if you turn your focus towards the crowd, you can see some pretty big gaps alongside either side of the crowd, so this could potentially point towards a bigger area of the crowd to fight in, which potentially could circle the entire ringside area and lead towards the crowd, which we've seen feature previously, for example in the Finn Balor entrance video. Also, something that you see in various parts of this first gameplay is the brand new taunt system. Now if you missed the previous information, it has been confirmed this year that the taunts this year will work differently to previous years, as each taunt actually has a purpose. For example, one taunt might give a damage boost, whilst another taunt might give a momentum boost. Now you can see that when a taunt is done, the right side of the player HUD goes green. Now whether that means a damage boost or the ability to take more damage, or even related to the brand new rollout system, that remains to be seen, as I'm not exactly too sure. But either way, this does showcase this brand new feature. So as I say, I'm not entirely sure how this works yet, so let me know your theories down below and we can go ahead and cover that in a future video. That aside, it's also worth pointing out that this year the HUD looks similar to 2K16, which is not a bad thing. The HUD also confirms that once again we're going to be having some reversal limits, although if this works the same way as 2K16, these potentially can be turned off in the options section of the game. Moving on slightly, we now get to see the brand new ladder match systems. So when you go to push a ladder over this year, you can see it is no longer going to be a one button press like in the previous years, but rather a series of button presses. Now this would seem like it gives you the time to jump off the ladder if you're the one being attacked, which is obviously going to be beneficial to you. Now also on show is the new pull-down system or minigame for putting down the championship or the Money in the Bank briefcase. Now from what I can tell by the looks of it, this year you need to time it right and put the circle icon through the gap at the right time in order to fill all 8 segments. Now in one sense this does make it a little more fiddly, almost like the submission system last year, but at the same time it's going to make ladder matches in theory at least last longer, which does follow suit with 2K's realism outlook. It's also worth noting that the circle speeds up when you're getting attacked, making this a more difficult process. Another of the main things featured in the gameplay that potentially may have gone on the radar for some of you watching is the brand new rollout feature. Now we found out in some previous information that the rollout feature takes place when your superstar has taken a certain level of damage and your superstar basically rolls out of the ring in order to recuperate. Now this is shown in the first part of the gameplay with Seth Rollins, with a breakout option then visible in order to get out of the system and to get back into the action. Another of the main things we got to see in the ladder match gameplay is of course the brand new ability of placing the ladder from the apron to the barricade. Now this is without doubt going to be a pretty awesome feature and a showcase in the gameplay by Dean Ambrose. Now it's not really clear how this is done, but I would assume potentially via an OMG moment, but either way really cool, and I'm sure having this feature and having the ladder in that position is going to create some pretty epic extreme moments. Another thing to touch on is that at one point in the gameplay, Dean Ambrose falls from a ladder and towards AJ Styles, to which AJ Styles puts his arms out. Now it could be argued that there is a new system in place that allows you to catch opponents in such a way, or it could be said this was simply a poorly timed taunt. Now I'm not too sure about this, but still possible either way and something to consider. The ladder match gameplay also confirms the tied animations and fatigued animations remain in the series. This is showcased in the ladder match gameplay, for example when AJ Styles is on the ladder with Styles hitting some fatigued punches. Yet another of the fairly big things on display that you might have missed is confirmation that ladder OMG moments now have a major reversal. Now this can be seen in this clip, as you can see now the first reversal following the OMG icon, followed by a second reversal icon which represents the major reversal. In this case though, that reversal is not here, and Rollins successfully delivers an OMG moment super neckbreaker off the ladder to Dean Ambrose, fully complete with what seems to be an updated animation for the neckbreaker. Now the next thing, not necessarily anything feature specific, but just some general notes before we move on to the Backstage Brawl gameplay. It's worth pointing out that 2K did a great job this year with the brand new animations, with quite a few of them on display in this ladder match, especially when using the ladder, for example when fighting on top of it and fighting to pull down the championship, or briefcase in this case. Also, you can see this year there is some improved hair physics and also some improved crowd. So hopefully guys, I think I've covered most of the bigger stuff from that first piece of gameplay. If I've missed anything on this one, then let me know down below and we can cover that in a future video. But now continuing the video and moving on to the second half, which is of course is going to be the Backstage Brawl match. So as soon as this gameplay starts, in the opening moments there is a few things to touch on. Firstly, you can see AJ Styles throws Cena against the wall, which looks to be an environmental throw. Now these were featured in the older Backstage Brawl matches that unfortunately tended to restrict your moveset. Now it's currently unclear if your moveset is restricted in this newer version of the Backstage Brawl, but hopefully that won't be the case, and hopefully confirmation either way will come soon. Another thing that sticks out to me is the match rating once again in the top left, which again is a nice feature. We also get confirmation that resiliency stays in the series, as you can see it as part of this pin attempt. Now in this screen, if we zoom to the very end of the hallway, you can actually see Roman Reigns being interviewed by Renee Young. Now it's currently not clear that if you take the action towards that area, if there's going to be any interaction, but that could be pretty cool, especially if it is a rival of the superstars being featured in your match. As the gameplay moves on now, we get to see even more environmental action as Styles hits Cena off the equipment box, and we also get to see some of this year's weapons as well. So in this video, we get to see the return of the trash can, which also has a weapon grapple coming up. We can also see a fire extinguisher, which hopefully can be usable, as well as some other bits and pieces. Now in terms of using the environment in the backstage areas, confirmation here that some things can be climbed, which you can then do moves off, as showcased here by Seth Rollins, delivering a super splash to Cesaro. It's also worth noting in this clip, a different superstar can be seen in the background. This time looks to be Finn Balor. Now what's coming up next is pretty cool. We get to see Seth Rollins and Cesaro move to a new area backstage, which in this case is the locker room. Now what's awesome about this is that this is done seamlessly with no loading screens, and at the point the superstars are separated, the new split screen feature comes into play, which is yet another awesome new feature. Here we go now with the trash can grapple that I mentioned previously, with Lesnar putting the overhead of Randy Orton. Now we actually had this as a grapple in the older games, so nice to have this back. Another thing pretty cool in relation to that is that whilst IGN's transition covers it somewhat, if you slow this down and get still screen, you can actually see that after Lesnar punches the trash can, it does in fact appear to show some damage. As the gameplay continues, we get to see Orton throwing Lesnar into the authorities' office. Now a few things to note on here. Firstly, it's unclear if this is an OMG moment or simply an environmental move. Also, if you zoom in to the door, it would seem that 2K have a fix to do in terms of the spelling. And thirdly, the area this opens up confirms the third area, because as stated previously, there are 3 backstage areas this year. So in theory, we have now seen all 3 at this point in the gameplay, with those 3 areas being the hallway leading to the interview area, the normal locker room, and now the office. Of course, that is unless this all counts as one big area, considering that it is all open, with 2 complete separate areas still to come. So not sure either way, but something to consider. Continuing on, and something pretty cool now, as not only are we entering Triple H's office, but the game himself makes an appearance. As you can see, Triple H does make that appearance and gives his old Evolution teammate Randy Orton a brief stare off. Pretty cool and a little unexpected seeing Triple H in this part of the gameplay. Also worth noting, it could be interesting to see who you get to see here, if anyone, if you're actually controlling Triple H in this match type. Next up, we get to see another environmental grapple, or potentially even an OMG moment, as we see the Beast incarnate Brock Lesnar spin Randy Orton through the television screen, creating a pretty epic moment. Also worth noting that in the office area, a steel chair and a trash can are also visible. Now as we switch the final piece of gameplay, and back to Cesaro taking on Seth Rollins, with Rollins now finishing the gameplay with a pretty epic looking environmental super kick to Cesaro in the locker room. Once again, unsure if this one is an OMG moment or simply an environmental maneuver, but either way, some epic stuff and a pretty cool way to finish off the second piece of featured gameplay. And yeah, that is it guys. So all in all, very few negatives and a ton of positives with this new gameplay. It's got to be said, 2K took their time showcasing the gameplay this year, but better late than never. So far, so good. This year's game is currently looking pretty damn awesome. So as I've said, I've tried to cover most of the noteworthy stuff in this breakdown video, but if I have missed anything, which I probably have, then let me know down below and we can feature it in a follow-up video. But yeah, that is it for this one, so I hope you guys have enjoyed it. Stay tuned to the channel for plenty more 2K17 content coming soon. Until next time, this has been 101, and I will see you all on the next one.